Blog Talk Radio. Chatting with Nat is a podcast for independent women seeking to speak their truth and to break down barriers. We host honest conversations that help to guide and empower women. Speak your truth and set yourself free. Let your voice be heard. Hi everyone, this is Natalie Jean. Yes, this is Chatting with Nat. And today we have the honor of having award-winning pop piano songstress Katie Pederson. Award-winning songwriter Katie Pederson is a pop piano songstress with Michigan roots whose music is sure to capture the hearts of fans of Carole King, The Chicks, and Elton John. Her forthcoming record, Limitless, weaves stories of heartbreak and healing based on a North American road trip that inspired the new album, which has received recognition from the John Lennon and international songwriting competitions. Look out for the Nashville-based songwriters record, Limitless, on Earth Day, April 22nd, 2022. Let's give her a round of applause. Hi, Katie. How are you?
Hi, Natalie. I'm good. How are you?
I'm still alive and kicking. I'm still here.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Crazy world, crazy times that we're living in.
It's just, I don't know. You know, I always tell people I get up and I have to pinch myself to see if I'm still living. If I'm in the 21st century, there's a lot of things that we've been through in the past couple of years. It's just been like something you would think that would happen in a movie or the 1930s, 1940s. It's just wild.
Yeah.
But so how have you dealt with everything that's going on?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I feel it has been such a crazy couple of years. And I just think that there's been a lot of emphasis on self-care and being able to just take time for ourselves.
Right.
Which can be really difficult when it feels like the world's on fire. You know what I mean? So I feel like my answer to your question is I'm still figuring that one out.
Yeah, I think we all are. I mean, it's just I don't get it. I don't get it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what universe are we in? Now, there's a question that I like to ask everybody. Basically, you know, we know that the pandemic is awful, god awful. People lost limbs. You know, there's long-term COVID. People died. A lot of people lost a lot of people. Millions of people have gone away. Pandemic. But on the other side, there have been some pros, believe it or not. You know, I always tell people, well, family members who are walking outside in my neighborhood, and that shouldn't be an odd thing. But, you know, people are always rushing around with their daily lives. People actually took the time to be together. There's a colleague of mine that decided to cut back on work hours because he realized he wasn't spending enough time with his family. Climate change, oh my God, the animals were just like, no people in the streets. The pollution level actually went down. You know, Mother Nature, all that stuff. They were just like, I hope they don't come back. You had people that actually quit their jobs. Here's the thing. What pandemic did is, like, they knew life was short. It made them realize that life was even shorter. A lot of people decided, I need to do something that's more of my passion. Yes, I want to make money, but I have to be happy doing it. And then musicians, there's a lot of artists like us that decided to create new music during the pandemic, lots of writing. There's some people that decided to rebrand. There's some people that said, no, I'm not doing this music thing anymore. There's a lot of, what I'm trying to say is a lot of self-introspection that happened.
Yeah.
So did you really think about, did you decide, okay, I'm going to stay Katie Pederson, the way that you've been promoting yourself? Did you change anything about your branding? What did you think about?
Yeah. Well, the short answer is yes. I feel like a lot changed in regards to my perspective, I was actually one of the people that ended up quitting my job because it was just so apparent that life was short. And I've always just, wanted to do music and lean all the way in. And I was always just too, frankly afraid. And so I think that during the pandemic, there was a lot of time for self-reflection and introspection. And I just found myself turning to writing almost daily at that point, because it was one of the only outlets that I feel like we really had. Couldn't leave my house. I had just moved to a new city. It was quite a tough time there for a minute. And so I feel like with that, it is this silver lining that I don't know that I would have had that stark of a perspective change without that period of pause, and without that time to be able to really reflect on okay, what do I really want out of my life? What am I here for? What is my purpose? And so, yeah, I mean, I feel like it really helped me to lean into the idea that I have a voice, and I want to use it for, to connect with others. And so the way that I use my voice is through music. And so that's kind of where I landed after all of that.
Wow. Yeah, and you know what? A lot of people, I'm just like you. So high five to you for quitting your job. Because I quit my job.
Thank you. You too. Yes, I'm cheersing my coffee to you.
Yeah, for several reasons besides the pandemic. But, you come to a point in your life, it's like do or die, basically. Either I'm going to try this 100% or I'm just going to let it go. And, I decided this is my passion. This is what I want to do. I'm going to go full force with it. And I like the fact that a lot of people really took the time to really think about, what they want to do with their lives during this time, because boy, we were on lockdown for the longest time. This was the time to do it. This was the time to do it, basically. Now, what was about the music industry that made you say, oh my gosh, Katie and music have to go together? Was it something that you saw? Was it something that you heard? What inspired you to become a musician?
Yeah, well, I think that it was always highly encouraged growing up, to turn to song, to play the piano, to sing, to just enjoy music. I grew up in church, and so I do have, that background of just being able to sing in church and sing in choirs as a kid and that kind of thing. So I feel like it was just always sort of around, but I think that when it really sort of hit me that it was something that I wanted to do was when I sort of learned how to play the piano, with pop songs that I really loved. It just was a new way of learning the instrument that really started to kick some inspiration in me. And so that was around high school, I think, for me. Yeah.
Wow. I love artists that can play instruments. I'm still on that. You need to learn how to listen. I've had this smart keyboard in my house for 6 years because this is the way I am. I get gung ho about stuff. I'm gonna get this smart keyboard. I can attach my iPad to it. I'm gonna learn, and then life happens, and then I get sidetracked. But don't worry, I'm still on it. I'm still gonna listen. I'm still going to open the box, and I'm gonna take it out. And I'm going to do something. This is the year. So I just love the fact that you can play and you're doing pop songs on the piano. That's a beautiful thing. Now, how important is it?
Thank you.
You're welcome. How important is it for you to be authentic in your music and in your life?
Oh, it's very important. I feel like that's one of my core values. To be honest, I just think that there's not another way to be. To be inauthentic is frankly exhausting. So I just feel if whether it's a song that is serious that I need to really get something off my chest, or even if it's a fun song that is just sort of for me, both of those things I think can be authentic, but it never needs to be something that's forced, or contrived. And I feel like, to be honest with you, I feel like the pandemic also shifted my mentality with that, of realizing like, am I showing up as my true self, in these different relationships? Like, I feel like there was just a lot of realization of like, trying to fit into a certain mold, to like fit in with certain crowds, if that makes sense. I think that that's a human thing, but I think that, I just became more aware of that, like over the pandemic, of like, how can I just show up Katie, to like every single group or every situation, that I'm in. And, that's a work in progress. I think it will always be, but I just trying to fit into something that I'm not is, really, really like just exhausting and not fun. So I'd much rather be authentic, if that answers your question.
Yes, it does. And I love that. Yesterday I was having a conversation with somebody about, I recently released a song, and a person contacted me about wanting to promote stuff. And we were talking about, he's like, well, you do so many types of genres and stuff like that, you really need to, you need to brand yourself as whatever. And I said, well, I know what my brand is. I love social impact message songs, and that's my niche. I like to write songs about the realness of people, the realness of the world, because the song that I just released is called Blocked, and it's basically about blocking people on social media, which is real. I know many people that did that during the election season, because people found out who people really were and their beliefs, and some people couldn't agree, and so people got blocked. It happened, and I block people. You really have to annoy me. You have to say something really ignorant or racist for me to block you. I don't do it often, but you should see my list. Anyway, but it's all about being authentic. I want to write authentic music, and what I've come to understand with people like us, we have to do that. That's our nature. It's just we're born like that. And during the pandemic, I did a lot of webinars and conferences on TikTok and different apps and stuff like that. And one of the things about TikTok is that the videos that are most popular are the ones of people being authentic, people doing things that other people think that they can do. Mainstream artists gets on there and blah blah blah. It's not realistic for them. They may like their music, but it's not realistic. When they see something that's normal, that's everyday life stuff, people just love that stuff. They're like, oh, or you learn a new hack or whatever the case may be. Authenticity is the key. Because during the past 3 years, we've dealt with a lot of fake news, this, that, and the other. You say, oh, really? And then you go to another page. And then say, no, that wasn't true. So people want hope. They want realness. They want authenticity. So kudos to you for being an authentic person and an authentic songstress. It's the big thing. What do you love most about being an artist?
I think that it is like similar to the vein of what we've been talking about. I think sometimes it's easier for me to sing how I feel than it is to say it out loud. And so I think one of my favorite parts about being a songwriter is being able to say things that that need to be said, things that people can relate to. And it's so interesting that you say that about TikTok and just, people being drawn to that, because I feel like the songs that are the scariest for me to write and put out in terms of them, like being really vulnerable or personal and, that kind of scary, are usually the ones that connect the most. They're usually the ones that I think, no one's going to like this song because it's too personal or it goes too far deep or whatever. And those are always the ones that actually end up connecting the most. And so I think that's one of my favorite parts of being a songwriter is like feeling less alone when I'm able to connect with other people, but also just hearing other people tell me, this song made me feel less alone. It's just some kind of like community sort of facilitator, I suppose music can be. And so I think that's one of my favorite parts of it as an artist.
Well, what I've been telling people on my podcast is what we need to start to understand is that music is our superpower. Okay?
Yes.
Because we have the power to heal somebody, but we do because sometimes, like you just said, somebody will listen to our music and they'll say, "Oh my God, I needed Katie Pederson at that moment and made me survive. I needed Katie Pederson because she made me smile. I need Katie Pederson because she gets me." That is a superpower. It is a healing mechanism because you just brought something to that individual. I always say that with my music, I want to be an effective player. I want my music to make a difference. I want people to say, "Oh my God, she's doing that. I can do that too. Oh my God, this song, she gets me." It's important. Obviously, we're in this music industry and we want to make money. We have to make money to survive, period. But we also have the opportunity to do good with our music. You could write about social impact. It could be about relationships. It could be about a job. It could be about anything. But at any given point, somebody needed to hear your voice to get through. I met this woman a couple months ago. We sat down and she was telling us this very interesting story. She was performing. Somebody came to hear her perform. And at the end of the show, he went up to her and he said, "You know what? I needed to hear your voice because I was going to go back home and kill myself."
Oh my gosh.
And he decided not to because of what she brought to the table. So It's a reminder to all of us that do music that we do make a difference. We can make a difference. And if we can do it, let's do it. Let's do the thing. Like Info says, some older dirt.
No, I am right there with you.
Now I am going to play your song "Time to Live." Tell me what that's about. No, it's not "Time to Live." Sorry, I'm looking at something else. Sorry, it's called Lake Louise.
No worries.
Lake Louise. Well, tell me what that's about.
Yeah. Well, I took a long solo trip at the end of 2019 before I moved down to Nashville. A series of doors had closed in my life, and it was just one of those things where I just needed to go far away for a little while and kind of reconnect with myself and with nature. And so Lake Louise is a story song about my travels out there. And if you're not familiar, it's a lake in Alberta, Canada, in this national park called Banff. And it's one of the most beautiful places in North America, I would say. I mean, it's just like this turquoise water surrounded by mountains. I mean, just absolutely stunning. It looks like a computer screensaver, and so I was there and just battling depression pretty severely at that point in my life. And I just remember driving out there and being like, I'm going to go out there and like everything's going to be fine because I'm going to be in this, beautiful place, and I'm just going to, sort of make this go away kind of a thing. And so as I got there, I just remember being disappointed that it didn't all go away, just because I drove far away, and just sort of realizing that you sort of have to face your fears, face your demons, even when you're in the most beautiful place in the world. And I think for me, this song is kind of a wherever you go, there you are kind of a situation where it doesn't really matter what stage of life you're in or like where you are physically. If you're not connecting with yourself or taking care of yourself, then that's always going to sort of be something that you have to do despite the circumstances that are around you. So Lake Louise is a really special song for me, but yeah.
Amen to that. I also, I also go through depressive times, so I completely get it. This world can just bring you down. But we
sure
got
can.
We got music to elevate, so let's play it.
Sounds good.
Lake Louise is lonely as the water there's blue. Overwhelming beauty, but my mind is stuck on you. I wonder what is going through the minds of passers-by. Perhaps if I was with someone, I'd have a better time. The Rockies are friendly in the light of the sky. They turn somewhat vicious when day becomes night. Not so unlike a line between you and night and day difference. It's hard to describe. Night and day difference. It's hard to describe. Lake Louise is lonely as the thoughts inside my head. I should be out there dreaming, but I'm missing you instead. I wonder how you're doing on the parkway headed south. I was so distracted that my tank almost ran out. I coasted to the station, all my fear was rushing through. Oh, had I had any service, so I probably would have called you. Replaying every word said in the parking lot last June. Oh, and night and day difference with you. Lake Louise is lonely as the winter air is cold. It's warmer where you are, but I'm more comfortable in snow. The Rockies are friendly in the light of the sky. They turn somewhat vicious when day becomes night. Not so unlike the line between you and night and day difference. It's hard to describe. Night and day difference. Night and day difference. It's hard to describe.
My God, that was beautiful.
Thank you so much.
It takes a lot to get me speechless. Have you thought about? Do you go for sync and licensing?
I have thought about it. I am working with a company in Michigan that works with local artists. That they're called Assemble Sound, and they have been kind of working with me on trying to get some placements. But that is definitely an avenue that I would love to lean further into. Mm-hmm.
Because you should.
Thank you.
Because you definitely have the vocals for it.
Thank you.
I mean, wow. Because I was listening to your song, and obviously it was very moving and touching, but I'm just like, my God, I could hear this in a movie. I could hear this in a documentary. Television, whatever. I can hear it all in there. You have a beautiful voice.
Thank
Definitely.
you.
What is your song? I'm like coughing. Yeah, I just came back from the Grammys and I got sick.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Again, with that thing that shall not be named.
Yeah. Right. My goodness.
It's just like, whatever. What is your songwriting process? And if you deal with writer's block, how do you deal with it?
Yeah. Well, my writing process is kind of I don't know. I feel like oftentimes I write in the car. I drive a lot just for driving to gigs or driving back home for different things, back and forth from Michigan. And so a lot of times ideas will come to me in that, that quiet space or that time when, you can't really focus on anything else but driving. And so most of the time, I would say over half of the songs that I write are like melody ideas that pop in my head while I'm driving. And so I use voice memos a lot to just sort of record those. And then whenever I get to where I'm going, I'll pull out the piano and try to put some chords under it. Sometimes, like for Lake Louise, for example, the piano part actually was like a melody that came into my head, like that I just sang into my phone and then sort of figured it out later on the piano. And so, I just feel like sometimes like ideas are just such gifts that sort of fall from the sky and it's just sort of up to us to pull them down and put them on the paper. So I would say that that's honestly, I don't even know that can be labeled as a process, but that's sort of how I've been writing.
It's the way you do your thing. This beautiful thing, and everybody has a way to go about it. I'm like, I can't be forced to write. I've tried that, and I would just stare at the screen with a piece of paper because I'm still old school. I write on paper. Yes, I do. I actually still read books because I like the feel of the book. I like the whole journey of having a book in my hand and going through it and touching the paper to write a song. And then there's moments where I'll be hit with some kind of creativity and the words just flow, and I'm just like, oh, okay. I'm not a stickler for following the rules either with songwriting. There's certain genres you have to be like I've learned recently about this because that's what I do is that they want you to rhyme all the time. Like everything has to rhyme. I'm like, why? Isn't the whole purpose to tell a story? And I do, but I also like to take I like to take my feet and I like to go over the edge of things. I like to be unique. I like to just be a little bit different. I want people to say like, oh, that was a different way of doing things. When I first started out in music, I used to listen to the song, just listen to the melody, blah, blah, blah. Now that I've gotten deeper into the music industry, I listen to the lyrics a lot more. Lyrics are my thing. I'll say, that was a great use of that word. Or if there's a phrase that I want inside my music and it seems like it won't fit, I will make it fit. Because it's to everything that I'm trying to say. And, some people are just like, oh, well, you need to do verse, chorus, verse, bridge, whatever. And I find that it stifles me. Like sometimes when I try to do that, and then it just doesn't work. And then I start writing. Sometimes I write them like a poem, and it feels so much better. It's just me that comes out. So in your writing process, do you just write the way that you want, or do you try to stay in a specific rule thing that's out there for different genres?
Yeah, that's so funny that you mentioned that because I actually forgot about this related. After the second verse, I go straight into the bridge and then back to the chorus. Okay. And when I submitted that song for feedback, and that was one of the notes that they had mentioned, like you should really do a chorus and then have the bridge after the chorus. And I'm not going to lie, like I tried it, but I just felt like it lost the flow of that story. I feel like the bridge would have then felt like it came out of nowhere, or like they'd have to be like, wait, why did she have to go, to the gas station or whatever. And so I just, that was one thing that I feel like especially just like getting a little bit older and also just sort of owning your craft as part of being able to say, I know that's the way that it's always been done, or that it's like, quote unquote, like standard or typical to do it that way, but I actually like know and believe that this is right for this song. And so, I think sometimes that's hard for us to do as women in the music industry, but I think it's really important for us to be able to tell our stories the way that we want. So,
amen. I'm like, yeah. They don't go into an art gallery and say, well, he should have used a flash of orange or blue here. It is really crazy. And I keep saying, do I want to open this dialogue? I don't know how I'm going to do it. On TikTok or wherever. About how people want to constrain our creativity. No, nobody's going to like it that way. They don't know. It's almost like when we submit our music for reviews or submit our music for promotional services. But the audience is not like that. How do you know?
Yeah.
Most people, most of those places basically are going by what they like. Well, that's the God's honest truth. And some of them do know more about the music industry to say, okay, this is trending right now. But you never really know what somebody's going to like until you actually put it out. And that's the bottom line. Some people have said, I've listened to certain songs and we're just like, oh my gosh, this is something new. This is different. I love this. And I go back into my song Blocks. My song Blocks is one of the ones that people have shared the most. And I'm just like, well, I got all this other stuff out here, but you like this because for me it's about the realness, and they know who I am. Like I speak my truth, say things all the time. People just don't. I feel like in our industry and with promoters and all kinds of different people need to give music a chance. They need to say, okay, this is different. Let me put it out there. Let me see what people think, rather than giving the people the same old stuff all the time. Like I said on a podcast that it seems as though in order for us to be seen and heard on radio, all these other people have to die. Because what happens on radio, they inundate you with Taylor Swift, Beyonce, Jay-Z, whatever, Nas, Kanye West, and all these different people. It's just, how do you get out of that? How are we supposed to be seen and heard when it's always the same thing over and over and over again? And the platform is huge for us. It's thousands of indie artists that need to be seen and heard, and there's so many platforms for us to do it. It just bugs me. But
yeah, I totally feel you. Yeah, it is a struggle, and I think it's just that is so funny. I'm reading the book Big Magic right now by Elizabeth Gilbert. Are you familiar?
No.
Okay, well, it's all about the creative process. She's the author of Eat, Pray, Love, and the book is kind of about, it's just like this beautiful, beautiful book about the like creativity and how, basically the premise of the story is like, after Eat, Pray, Love, it was her biggest success, and then everybody kept asking her like, well, are you sure that you still want to write? Like, what if you can't top your last creation, that kind of thing? And she was like, I'm not in this to like top myself or to like win this game. I'm in this for the love of it. And so I'm just going to do it the way that I know how. And she talks about this story that she submitted to this one magazine that she really wanted to get into when she was first starting. And she submitted it and got a letter, like a rejection letter from the editor saying, like, this is a great story, but, we just don't really like the ending. And then fast forward 5 years later, she submitted that story again, talked to the same editor who ended up loving the story. And she, and she said, even the ending, did you like the ending? And she's like, I loved the ending. And so she just talks kind of about how sometimes art just needs to land at the right time. Like, it's just so random and sporadic. Like when someone needs to hear it or when someone connects with it, it's so out of our control. And so I just feel like, it can be really frustrating sometimes, but at the same time, I just feel like the likelihood of us connecting really increases when we just keep showing up. And so that's kind of my goal.
I love that. And that's so very true. Now I'm going to play your song, One Before the One. Tell me what that's about.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I guess it's about just seeing people that used to be a part of your life that you once loved start a new life with somebody else. And I think it's something that happens more and more in this day and age that I don't feel like other generations really had to deal with quite as much.
Right.
Just with the age of social media and everything else, you know, it's kind of like in your face sometimes. And so speaking of your song Blocked, you know, sometimes that button can be helpful. So
no, I completely get it. All right. Well, what's it?
Heard from a friend, you're settling down back in the Midwest, outside of your hometown. Been a few years, why does this hurt like hell? It's throwing me off, thinking how hard we fell. We had a good run, but I'm just the one before the one. We had our plans laid out, oh, but our timing didn't come. You stepped out of the sea, I floated in the ocean. We had a good run, but I'm just the one before the one. In a parallel life, maybe you and I would have worked out. But is the midpoint right, that it could have been us by now? And I don't mean to come right out of far left field, so I'll type out this draft and send it to trash and forget the way I feel. We had a good run, but I'm just the one before the one. We had our plans laid out, oh, but our timing didn't come. You stepped out of the sea, I floated in the ocean. We had a good run, but I'm just the one before the one. If I could, I'd say I'm thankful that we gave it our best try. If I could, I'd say I'm grateful you were part of my life for a time. If I could, I'd be more honest. If I could, I'd be more kind. But I wish for you all the happiness that you brought to my life. We had a good run, but I'm just the one before the one. We had our plans laid out, but our timing didn't come. You stepped out of the sea, I'm floated in the ocean. We had a good run, we had a good run. We had a good run, but I'm just the one before the one. We had our plans laid out, oh, but our timing didn't come. You stepped out of the sea, I'm floated in the ocean. We had a good run, but I'm just the one before the one.
Another hit. I'm up. I love it because it's so true.
thank you.
It is so true. Let's talk about women empowering women.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a beautiful thing, but you'd be surprised that men. No, it's so when my friend Nikki and I started this whole Sisters in Music thing, you know, or I reached out to some of the other women organizations, and there are a lot of them that were, you know, oh yes, I'd love to be interviewed on your podcast and stuff like that, and then some were just like, you know, we're not at the higher echelon of things, and they didn't give us the time of day, which is just so sad. Just because I just don't understand that. If you're trying to do stuff for women, I'm thinking you're trying to do it for all women.
Right.
I think we have a long way to go in regards to how women view one another. Like this whole competitiveness is just a bunch of BS. And that we have the power to lift and raise one another up, and that we're all in this together. So how do you see the whole women empowering women thing?
Yeah, I completely agree. I just feel like, we're all sort of fighting for the same thing at the end of the day, which is just to be heard and seen. And so I just feel like the competitive stuff, I feel like that's unfortunately like a part of like being human sometimes, but at the same time, I feel like, when we support one another, we rise together. And
Amen.
So one of my favorite things about like being in the industry, especially with women, over the past couple of years, like some of the people that have just waltzed in my life, I sometimes just sort of like have to pinch myself of like, I just cannot believe some of the incredible women that have come into my life and have just really helped to not only support me, but like for us to be able to work together to support each other. I have had more I don't know, like I have just, for example, I just did a short run tour with two of my closest friends. We did a writer's round tour in the Midwest, and each of us just sort of reached out to a couple of venue contacts that we had. And you probably are well aware of this, being a woman in music and a touring musician. Tours are not easy to put together. Like it takes some time. Oftentimes you have to send a lot of follow-up emails to get people to respond to you, that kind of thing. And I am not kidding you, between the three of us, we planned out like a two-week tour within a week. Like almost all of these venues got back to us, nearly immediately. And they were great rooms. They were listening rooms where, you could hear a pin drop. People were there to hear us. And one of the biggest comments that we got from that tour was, I loved all the music, but one of my favorite parts of the show was seeing the way that you guys support each other. And I just feel like that is the highest compliment that I could get as a musician, because that's what it's all about. We're obviously here to share our stories and connect with people. But I think that part of that too is just being able to sort of lead by example in that way. And when people see it, it connects on a deeper level, I think. So, yeah.
Amen to that. I agree with you 100%. And I have a lot of women in my life that have just been fantastic. So I agree with you. What are 3 things you wish you had known before you got into the music industry?
If I would go back to tell my younger self, I would say, it's going to take a long time. This is a long haul career. It is not for the faint of heart in terms of like, overnight success or because even if you do get overnight success, you have to keep your foot on the pedal to keep that momentum going. And so I think that's something that I have like really embraced over the past couple of years of just realizing, because I'm in it for the long haul, I don't feel this like immense pressure like that, if it's not now, it's never. Like, no,
right.
I'm just always going to be doing music. I'm still going to be showing up, not to say that I'm just going to sort of like sit back or anything, but but I think knowing that it's the long haul helps to take some of that pressure off. Okay, 2 other things. I think also just that, like, for me, what I have been learning recently is, as a woman, it is okay to voice my opinion, to share my ideas, and like me doing that isn't stepping on toes. It's just presenting an idea. And I think that for a lot of women, sometimes it can feel like difficult, I guess, to voice to voice. Like, I guess specifically what I'm talking about is in co-writing or in group music projects. We have the right to say what we want to say and stand up for what we believe in as far as like production and lyrics and melody ideas and things like that. And then a third, I guess, would just be, three. What was the question again? 3 things I've learned or 3 things I would tell myself?
I wish you had known before you got into the music industry.
Oh, wish I had known. The third one, I would say, and maybe the biggest, is that you are not alone, that you don't have to do this on your own. I think for a long time, I thought that like success in music meant that I had to do it all by myself and, like as if I needed to like prove something almost. Right. And over the past couple years, I have just found such a joy and relief and like more freedom in music when other people are involved, writing with other people, performing with other people, letting people help me with my website and with promotion and things. Like, we're not meant to do 7 full-time jobs as musicians. We need help, and in fact, it's way more fun with other people. So I think that would be my biggest takeaway.
Yeah, and I agree with you 100%. Everything that you said. Now, lastly, what is a quote or a message or a passage or a word that you like to use to motivate you, push you when you're feeling down, or maybe you're feeling good and you just need to say the word out loud, or the passage or the phrase?
Yeah. Sure. Recently it has been, and I hope this isn't too much to say, but recently what I have been really like meditating on when I'm starting to feel frantic or pressure or anything is just the phrase like, I have enough and I am enough. And just like looking around and sort of taking note and inventory of like the things in my life that I have that fill my life and just sort of like leaning into that's enough. And so I feel like, showing up with that mentality for myself as well as my art or my craft has just been helpful in reducing some of like the anxiety or the pressure that I put on myself sometimes. So, yeah.
I get it. Beautiful. Mine is, what is mine? Mine is, I write my own narrative. I got into a discussion with this past year about the press and stuff like that. When we get interviewed for stuff, and sometimes they switch things around, or it's not something that you said. And some people are just like, that's the test, da-da-da, and I don't believe in that. I think for myself, I've seen people where they mentioned something that was wrong, and I told them you have to fix it or you need to take it down. Fame is wrong when it's not the truth for me. So I've decided I write my own narrative. Nobody's going to tell me who I am and what I do in my life. I write it.
Absolutely.
The way it is. And that's the way it is. Thank you so much, Katie Pederson, for being on Chatting with Nat. I learned so much. You have a wonderful, beautiful voice. You definitely need to do the sync and licensing thing, because you have what it takes. You're an awesome person. You're very sweet and nice.
Oh, thank you.
And you're authentic, which makes you even better.
Thank you so much. I just so appreciate that. I've really, really enjoyed our conversation.
And hopefully someday soon we'll be able to do an IG Live so everybody can see us chat, and we can have a great time on that as well.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I'd love to.
All right, everyone. This was award-winning pop piano songstress Katie Pederson. You can find her at www.katiepederson.com. She's Instagram is Katie Pederson Music. Facebook is the same. YouTube is the same. Twitter is @_Katie Pederson _. TikTok is Katie Pederson Music. Linktree is Katie Pederson Music. Spotify, just get on there and find her music. Or if you don't remember all that stuff, just Google Katie Pederson Music and you will find her, and you're going to love everything that you hear. Until next time, chatting with Nat.
Thank you so much.
Chatting with Nat, is a podcast for independent women seeking to speak their truth and to break down barriers. We host honest conversations that help to guide and empower women. Speak your truth and set yourself free. Let your voice be heard. Love your